What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jess Marshall Podcast. This week on the JMP, I've got running it back for the second time, Tomas Keenan, author of this great entrepreneur, business starter company, small business owner book. It's like a manual. It's called Unfuck Your Business. If you haven't read this book, you should. We talked a lot about this book in the last podcast. I'm sure it'll come up in this podcast. We're also going to talk about his academy, Step It Up Academy. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Talk to y'all after. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Jess Marshall Podcast. Wow. Mark that swipe. Bring it. Are you a church guy? Do you go to church on Sundays?
No, I'm spiritual, and I believe there's something there.
Yeah.
I'm just not one for the formal setting of it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, bro. I grew up. My dad and mom were both pastors. It was church like three nights a week, Sunday, church, school, whole nine yards. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, so I grew up in my house. My mom could care less. And then I had an aunt who was super, and I grew up Roman Catholic in New York. My aunt was super into the church, and it was her influence where it was like, hey.
You look like a villain on like Boondock Saints. Yeah. So I believe it.
She's like, I don't care what you do with this once you hit this age, but at least go through the paces with me, and maybe you'll discover something about yourself. So I went through all the typical bullshit in the Roman Catholic livelihood growing up. Get baptized, communion, confirmation. What really burned my, and I was kind of like, looking sideways at the church growing up because a lot of bullshit with molestation of kids and whatnot, like just didn't sit right with me, and a lot of it was hitting the news was very close to where I grew
shit.
up. So like, 2 or 3 towns over from where I grew up in Long Island, it's a town called Rockville Center, and there's a big diocese based out of Rockville Center that's tied to the church in which one is it? St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, and they all are tied heavy into the Vatican and whatnot. Like all this shit's going on, and like monsignors in the area are like getting called out. I'm like, dude, hold on, whoa. So
how old were you when you started looking sideways?
13, 14.
Yeah,
maybe 15.
Yeah.
And then what really burned my ass hard is my wife and I grew up in the same town. We grew up on opposite sides of the town, so the town was big enough where we went to different high schools, never knew each other. Okay, so we actually both went to and were brought up in the same church. It's time for us to get married, and we want to go get married in a church that, kind of we grew up in.
Sure.
And my theory is that our donation wasn't large enough. And they basically said...
Did you go to the courthouse?
So we went up the road to another Roman Catholic church. And
Did you cancel your check first?
They never even got it.
Good.
They never even got it.
Good.
So yeah, we wound up going to a different church, and it's funny how things just work out.
Yeah, man. I mean, whether it does like going to the actual church service on Sunday. I know a lot of people who go to church services, and then the way they live, like
After
Monday
that?
through Saturday midnight's pretty.
Yeah, it doesn't align with that Sunday shit.
Yeah, you want to talk about looking sideways. So you're from up there. So I've always wondered this. What is in, I think this is big in New Jersey, but what's a township? How's that different from like a city or a town or a county?
That's definitely Jersey shit.
What's up with that?
We have, so in Long Island where I grew up,
Jersey
you see a lot
shit.
more.
Listen to this New York putting down
New York
Jersey
and New
stuff.
Jersey are not the same thing. I am not from New Jersey.
Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, don't shit on me like that, please. In Long Island, you'll find villages, like the incorporated village of.
Okay.
And those are the little tiny small towns you go into that have their own police department, their own courthouse. Those are the guys who love to give tickets because they're just generating money for the LLC, the incorporated village of.
Gotcha.
And those are the places where if you get pulled over and you don't live in that town, they hit you with everything they got. But if your address happens to be in that little tiny village, like, oh, you're good. And come at me if you think that shit doesn't exist or isn't real.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Man. Yeah. I remember being an irresponsible youngin'.
Hell yeah.
I had my first motorcycle.
Right.
And I was out, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. Just there's nobody on the road.
Raising hell.
I'm raising hell. I'm going through this incorporated village, which is right next to the town that I live in. So I grew up in Franklin Square. This is the village of Malvern. It's literally, it borders the town I live in. I got to go through it to get home. And I went over a set of railroad tracks, probably at about 90 miles an hour with the front wheel off the ground. And I had 2 of those village cops come and get me, and they threw everything they had at me. And listen, I'm not saying I didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
But had my address been, a quarter of a mile over, it wouldn't have been as bad.
So where you grew up, you have villages, what? Like counties, municipalities, towns, and they're all in a county?
Yeah, so basically there's 2 main counties on Long Island. There's Nassau and Suffolk County.
Yeah.
I grew up in Nassau. I wound up moving out to Suffolk later on. But in that county is a bunch of towns, villages, so on and so forth.
Is everybody that's in Nassau County pissed that the Islanders don't play in Nassau County anymore? Do they not
They
care?
do, actually.
Do they now? Yeah. Or are they back there?
Yeah, so they built a. I haven't seen it. I've seen it. I haven't been in there. They built a new place, and it's attached to Belmont Racetrack.
Oh, wow.
And Belmont Racetrack is right on the border of Queens and Nassau County.
Okay.
Queens is one of the 5 boroughs considered
Right.
New York City.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. So you could go bet on some races, and then that night you could go to a hockey game.
So yes, technically you could. I grew up, 7 minutes from Belmont Racetrack my whole life, and never once have I been there or bet $1 on a horse.
That's probably
a good thing.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Considering all the things that human beings can get squirreled off into that for some reason or another tend to ruin our lives or whatever. I've never gotten betting. I've never betting or gambling has never been a thing that I've been ever drawn to.
When I was younger, gambling was more of a thing because it was a cool experience. You're finally 21. You can go to the casino. You can spend a couple $100. You can have fun. But the older that I got was like, dude, I worked too fucking hard for that money to go just literally gamble it right now.
Literally, that's where I'm at with strip clubs too.
Oh, dude.
I'm like, I don't even understand the concept of this. How is this popular? What is the point?
Yeah, it's again, younger, cool, let's check it out. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you I've spent plenty of time in them myself. But here I am, 43, I'll be 43 in a month, and I could give 2 shits
No
about
doubt.
going to a strip club.
When when the sun rises and sets with your effort as to whether or not money's hitting the account, it's a little harder to just shovel it out the door at shit that doesn't matter. You're like, man, it's not easy come, easy go.
No.
It's just, once you settle with that fact, being an entrepreneur is actually pretty fun. But man, it takes a minute, especially for younger entrepreneurs. They'll get stars in their eyes when the first couple big checks come in, and they forget that, man, last couple days of the billing cycle, you're going to get some big bills that come off. They come waltzing through the door in the form of the mailman going, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah, I got a couple that rolled into my email account yesterday, and I was like, there they are.
I'm telling you, man. It's sometimes, it feels in entrepreneurship like it's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I think it kind of is. And I think sometimes it's the universe just going, how I hear your big plans. I see what you say on social media. Now I want to know how bad you want it. Don't you think, kind of?
Yeah, it's a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a test. But here's the deal, right? It's like I almost don't look at it as you're taking a step back. Right, and I had a close friend tell me this once, and I kind of picked up on it. I love shooting guns and all that kind of outdoor shit.
You're in the right place, bro.
Good. So he's like, you're not taking a step back. He goes, you're simply reloading.
Yeah,
like,
love
okay,
that.
Cool. I'll buy that because that's what you're doing. You're reloading and you're re-engaging or re-strengthening the foundation, so you can, when you take on the next 2 and 3 steps, the foundation is now squared off and it's stronger and it's able to support where you're going.
No doubt about it. Just like in investing, there's times when you invest in a fund or in a business or whatever, and you're like, okay, positive cash flow, let's go.
Yeah, 9 months later, you're like,
let's go. Let's go. You were talking on Monday when I was on your pod about, you've kept all of your content platforms going while you were helping somebody else kind of build their stuff.
Yeah.
And there were times when you were looking at that going, man, that's a lot of money flying out the door.
Yeah.
But that's you. That was you just stacking ammo, man. That's really what you were doing.
Yeah.
You can't step back and reload if there's no ammo to load with.
Yeah. So I came down to Texas, and I think I told you, 2 days after moving here, September 25th is 2 years I've been here in Texas. 2 days after I got here, I formed the first LLC in Texas, right? But that summer, I knew I was moving for months, and I packing up the house and exiting my last company, and I had worked my way out of that company, which was cool.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of free time, and I was able to pour that time into building out the back end systems, the processes. What are the offers going to be? Who's my ideal client? What is the branding? What's the look? All that shit, right? All the fun stuff at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. And I had invested a lot of time, effort, energy, money into building out a lot of the software platforms that come along with that. So not only was it just content that I'm paying for people to put out there, but I had built out CRMs with automations and sequences and follow-ups. And,
serious value.
Yeah. So, and you know how software works in the business space. Once you say to the software company, hey, I'm done, shut my shit off, they're not gentle and kind to you and say, oh, hey, here's all your data.
No,
they just delete that shit.
Yeah.
So I couldn't
or hold it hostage.
Yeah, I couldn't in my right mind go there and just do it. I'm like, dude, I'm spending like $700-800 a month right now between this software, that software. I got a couple online courses floating around here. I got this one rolling out there. I've got even for my first book, Unfuck Your Business, I've got all of the automations because in here I tell people, I drop them to my personal branded website, TomasKeenan.com. Go click on the link that says download the book goodies, and that's how they're delivered.
Right.
It's a CRM platform that's behind the delivery. So if I shut all this shit down, I'm shooting myself in the foot. So I didn't do it. And, many times it was like, why am I burning almost $1,000 a month on something that's really not in play right now?
Man, that's another lease on a pretty rad vehicle. If you're anything like me, you're always thinking about the next idea or the next concept or the next way to tighten up or improve what you've already got going. Yeah. Do you have just like an endless amount of just like lists going everywhere? Like sometimes I don't have anything to write on somebody's attic. I'll write it on my hand.
Yeah.
Blue ink, by the way, for those who are interested, use blue ink. It washes off way slower than black ink. So
good to know.
Hack from an old pro here. Are you got notes going in your iPhone? Yeah. Are you emailing yourself stuff? How are you keeping track of all your ideas?
So if you use an Android, it's inferior, and we cannot speak to each other. No, I'm just joking.
I don't.
Yeah, good. I do like iNotes because they're so simple, and if I need to write something down very quickly, it goes right in there. But any shit that has real value that I'm really going to work on goes into my task management tool, and I use ClickUp for that. I love it. It's simple to use. It's dirt cheap. There's a free version and a paid version. I had the paid version because I have some automations and other softwares tied into it.
Sure.
But that right there is just a task management. I've got processes built out in there. So when it comes time to bring additional people onto the team, which we're starting now, it's like, okay, no. Here's the process that's in place. Here's a quick training video. And all of that is hosted inside of ClickUp. So it's badass.
That's very cool. So if somebody was, for instance, interested in writing a book, much like you have, this is your newest one, which we'll talk about here, Startup Legends Handbook. If they're thinking about, I want to write a book, so we got to start with an idea, then start putting together an outline, bullet points, all that. Is that a good place to kind of get your feet under you and start keeping like track of your ideas?
Yep.
Okay.
Because you can assign due dates to it. You can put tasks on for additional team members. Don't ask me to do the cover art in this thing. That's not my specialty. Right. So let's reach out to or find someone. So a task could be, hey, let's go hire a cover artist. Go find 3, 4, 5, interview them, figure out who's got the best thing going on, who's within your budget, who's within your style, and go hire that person. Okay, cool. Now what's phase 1 of putting a book cover together?
When you went to get the cover art for this new one or for Unfuck Your Business, because the cover art on Unfuck Your Business is very, the art on the cover tells you what the book is about if you know anything about business.
Sure.
Do you give them like a synopsis or like a thumbnail of like this is what the book is about?
So I fucked it up royally with the first book.
Oh, did you come at them with ideas or something?
Yeah. So this book and
quit being too ambitious, bro. God, come on, man.
This book was the first one I wrote. Learned a lot with it, and took a lot longer than I probably could. Not probably. It took a lot longer than it would take me right now to go crank out another book. And very, very fortunately enough, if you work with a professional editor, which I suggest anyone do, they're also going to have the connections to the cover artists that they know are good people.
If you have an idea for a book, should you like go try to hammer out like 3 chapters first and put together like a treatment before
Absolutely
you?
Not.
So
go find the editor. That's step 1, in my opinion. Okay, what the editor is going to do is basically tell you, yeah, that's a good idea, or you're out of your fucking mind.
Because they have a frame of reference that you don't have?
They've written thousands of books. Not that they've written. Let me rephrase. This is not a ghostwriter. I didn't hire a ghostwriter. I hired an editor. So this is my content in the books, but they went in and cleaned it up and made sure that I sounded as if I'm an educated man.
Are they taking your idea, like your idea for Unfuck Your Business, actually not something I've seen repeated? Mm-hmm. Like you see, man. Yeah. You've been in this the coaching, the guru space for quite a while. Whether you were being coached or whether you have graduated to where you are now, you've seen a lot of these books. A lot of them are kind of along the same lines. Is an editor going to be like, I mean, that's fine, man, but the market's saturated and you don't have a name yet. I don't think it's going to do really well.
If you find the right editor, hopefully they're giving you that feedback. But like we were kind of talking before, I don't know if it was recorded or not, everyone's got a hustle, right?
Yeah.
The editor's hustle is to help you write this book.
I don't know. Do you guys edit out all that every time I say that your preacher has a hustle and your doctor in his lab coat has a hustle and your politician has a hustle?
They all got a hustle.
Hopefully your mom and your dad don't have a hustle.
Yeah.
But there's a damn good chance your brother and sister have hustles. So when that's like a service that if there's a young guy or gal out there, they want to start something like Dennehy, they connect with you and you're like, okay, well, you could go find and learn on your own through trial and error, or I recommend reaching out to like these 2 or 3. They cut through the bullshit and they're going to come at you with the facts. They're not just going to take your 5K and be like, hey, if it doesn't do well, that's cool. You know, I paid my insurance deductible on my kid's broken leg with that. I don't really give a fuck. And that's important.
Yeah, it is. You know, these 2 books were done by different editors. Where it's funny, long story short, when I did this book, I hired an editor and she had a right-hand person. Right, and I wound up becoming really close friends with both of them, and still to this very day.
Really?
And they wound up having a falling out and splitting up. And the right-hand person is the one who edited this book.
Oh, okay.
So I've used them both, worked with them both, and they're just both amazing people for me. But the process is pretty cool. Get on the phone, have a real conversation with that person, and they're going to, hey, you got a book or you don't have a book, or hey, that's a good idea, but I would tweak it this way if you're willing to go through. Here's a contract. And the first thing that a really good quality editor is going to do after you kind of figure out what the game plan is going to be, you got to go in there with some kind of idea.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be fleshed out at all.
Right. Okay.
The next step is that editor is going to spend several hours with you, probably on several different calls, and you're going to crank out the outline of the book. Right. This is the bullet points. This is chapter 1, chapter 2, all the way through. Probably let's call it 12 chapters ish.
Okay.
30,000 words ish for this genre book, unless you're doing something different, like fiction or whatnot.
These are like manuals.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. It's can go into self-help, business help, self-development, mindset. I mean, there's many different categories, and that's another thing too. Why you want a badass editor on your team, because when it comes, these are all self-published books, right? I didn't go and sign a deal with HarperCollins. Okay, this is self-published, meaning I paid an editor to help me through the whole process, and they upload this to KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, owned by Amazon. When you upload there, you have to choose the keywords and the categories that the book is going to go into.
Gotcha.
A lot of that has to do with, hey, we're choosing this one versus this one because we know it's going to hit bestseller status faster, kind of deal.
I got you. So, writing a book has this, it's got this ethereal, like, I don't know, like, it just has like this halo around it. It's got this, that people have this idea about, well, like, even what like an author should maybe look like.
Yeah.
Like, should they even have tattoos, or a rockin' beard?
Yeah.
But it becomes this, so when we know in business, you have to break things down into tasks.
Yeah.
You got to be, so every day I got to be taking steps toward my goal. When you're just like, go write a book and it's going to be like your business card.
Yep.
Well, for an entrepreneur who's either buried by, I just got to make payroll on Friday. When you loop someone in who's a pro, like an editor, and they're like, that's a pretty good idea. And then you take the time to work out the outline and to decide on how many chapters and all of that, then you're breaking this pretty big project down into
small tasks.
Every week you got to have this done. Will your editor, depending on who they are, will they kind of hold you accountable on stuff like that?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need content. If you don't have any content by this time, the end product of your book is going to get pushed back by 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long do you want this project to go on for? How bad do you really want it? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. the bite size, like isn't it Zig Ziglar that said, you know, positive people they go hunting for Moby Dick, you know, with a rowboat and a jar of tartar sauce and a fork, like fucking bring it on.
Yeah.
Not every entrepreneur is like that though. A lot of them are real analytical. They're real numbers, and they want to know that everything can't be perfect before you take the first step, because if you wait for it all to be perfect, as we know and as you and I've discussed many times, that day will never arrive.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're not super adventurous, but you're still enterprising, it's a good idea to get that editor going so that you can feel like a comfort level about like, I'm making progress toward this end. And it's not this thing, like, you know, in business when you set a goal for yourself, and it's like a goal you set in the mirror. Like you say to yourself, like, I'm working out. Like 25 of the next 30 days. You don't tell anybody else, but you know if you broke that promise to yourself, I'm going to write a book. Well, then that starts hanging over your head, and it starts to become like in your own mind, like the elephant in the room of like, oh, I said I was going to do that, and I've not made any progress. Is that also kind of where you and what you do for entrepreneurs comes into the picture? Because you help them break down these different tasks that are going to help them. Like some are going to help you immediately.
Yes.
Some are going to help you in 6 months.
Yep.
Some are going to help you in 6 years. That the book thing, how long did it take you to decide I'm doing this?
A couple of months of sporadic thoughts here and there. And then when I got real serious about the thought, like, hey, I'm going to do this, it was a no-brainer conversation and decision. And it was, I had that first call with the editor, and I was like, all right, it's game time. Now I know exactly what to do, because they just mapped out the process for me from start to finish. Outline, record the content, edit the content, scrub it over a lot, check it all out, and then it goes into final production, and there it is. You're done.
You know, when you're talking to athletes like both of us are, like, give me a play and I'll learn the play, and then I'm gonna just blow my opposite number up, and I'm gonna win the play.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing daily with my clients now too.
Is it different for you now? You're into your early 40s. You've seen some shit. You've met some people, some really good ones, some mediocre ones, some bad ones. You have this frame of reference now that you didn't have 2, even 4, even 6 years ago.
Sure.
Is it just you have this different perspective now when you're sitting down with young people or older folks who are like, I've been doing this work for the man thing, I want to start my own thing? You can be like, okay, this is what I learned. Is that kind of the angle that you come at this from a little bit more than maybe before?
The guys that I'm looking to work with already have something established and in place. Like, can I help that person who's new and they're thinking about cranking up the business? Yeah, sure I can. But the harsh reality, and going back to a hustle, this is my livelihood.
Right.
The harsh reality is most of those folks don't have 2 nickels to rub together. They're literally bootstrapping a business from the ground up. So what am I going to go do? Take 10 grand from you and help you fail in business?
Right.
Like, no, that's not what I do, and that's not what I ever would. I refuse to do it. Right. My personal purpose is I'm on the planet here to help others succeed in business. And it's one of my rules. Right. This gets passed on to team as well. If we're going to take money out of a client's bank account and we're not going to help them in business, we're not going to take the money.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't ever want to be the guy where you go home at night and you got to tell your wife and kids, like, hey, business is closed down and we're fucked because Step It Up Academy and Tomas Keenan took all the money. Like,
sure.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that on my shoulders because I sleep really good at night.
Yeah. The not just because of your ass whooping workouts in the mornings, like this morning, but because you know you're not fucking people over. Is that a tough decision to make sometimes if you get down the road to someone, you're just like, hey, I don't know if I'm the right fit for you right now, because are they looking at you going, well, where do I go? And if they are in that position, do you have someone to refer them to there who could give them a little direction?
Great question. So I'm just known for being open and transparent. I just kind of shoot it straight, whether you want to hear it or not, whether it's beneficial for me or not. I'm just going to throw it out there like, hey, this is how I see it from my perspective. This is what it is. So I have no problem having that tough conversation. And if I know that I'm not a good fit for the person, and that could be several reasons why you're not a good fit, right? We could do a podcast on that alone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I always have people in my network who I've either worked with personally over the years or good close friends who I trust, who I'm like, hey, I'm not the right guy, but go work with this person. They have a package in place that is ideal for you, and it's not going to break your budget. Or they're a specialist in the exact need or want that you have right now in your life or business.
That's awesome. At what point do you think in your entrepreneurial career you figured out the importance of being super intentional about meeting new people, but also about just getting around people who, I'm not saying that you just go hang out with people who can just get doors open for you or make contacts for you, but I'm like, hey, I go hang out with these 5 people on the weekend because they got a different mindset than these 5 drinking buddies, and I think it's probably going to get me further. Maybe because I'm hitting Monday not hungover, so that's number 1. But also, you start looking at things with a different mindset, from a different perspective, because you're around these people who are probably, if you want to hang out with them and get what they have, they probably have something you don't have yet.
Yeah, and you got to speak their language too.
Yeah, and learning that language takes interacting.
Takes reading.
Yeah,
a lot of reading.
What is reading? What is reading? What is that activity? How much time do you spend reading content in a week?
I've got 2 books going at any given time. I've always got a hardcover or a paperback in my office at home, and I'm a big fan of audiobooks as well. So I love
so
music.
Audible isn't cheating.
No, Audible's not cheating.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm cool with it, and I crank everything up to 1.5 or 2x.
There you go.
Because the brain can actually understand this information coming in much faster than what the author would traditionally speak. So crank that sucker up. You'll get through the book in half the time, which, cool. The faster I can get through this book, the more I can bring in. If it's a book that really hit me profoundly, then I'll go back and actually buy a copy of it and skim through. Because a lot of times there's like, I'm reading Fix This Next right now by Mike Michalowicz.
Okay.
He's the author for, what's it called? Profit First. Well-known guy.
Yeah.
Guy's from New Jersey, by the way.
A township of some sort out there, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm listening to this book, and he's got a bunch of like free PDFs and giveaways. You can go to his website and get them. They're included with the audiobook. But I'm going to go get the hardcover of the book and just open that sucker up, because now when I need to go back and reference this 6 months or 9 months from now, when I'm in a situation where I'm like, hey, I found that information somewhere, or I have a client who hits me with, hey, I'm in this situation, I have this problem, how do we get around it? And that, ding dong goes off in your brain, and you're like, oh, I read something on that a couple months ago. Let me go check it out. Right. That's where that comes into play for me.
As someone who does read and who has read for a long time, because even 2 years ago when you were on the podcast with me, we were talking about your reading. Yeah. You're listening to a book on the way to train.
Yep.
Then you're training in the morning. So you have a frame of reference. I've been asking people this in social settings and on the podcast recently. Do you find that the content in books is a little more watered down now? Hey, it happens, man. It happens. Is a little watered down now because there's so much content that's going out on podcasts instead? Or do you find that maybe those authors are able to kind of flesh things out a little bit so that then when they put it in book form, it's a little more refined, or almost they've worked through it by discussing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's not how I look at it. To me, it's like there's a lot of content out there, right? The golden rule, like there's no new content on the planet ever, right? Yeah. And a lot of it is regurgitated shit. Like if you go in and read any of my books, like there's other key authors that I've pulled information from and then turned into my own words or changed it around a little bit, right? It's just the way it is. This is just the world we live in. But I get to a point where I have to stop reading the self-development books, because I'm like, fuck, not again. Like, here's this guy talking about this thing, and the last 3 books that I just listened to or read, they all talked about the same bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, how many times am I going to consume this same content, even if it's just written differently?
Sure.
When that happens, and it's usually, it's more frequently now with the more reading that I do.
Yeah.
It's when I know I need to pivot, and I will go and either throw in a fictional book, very infrequent, but I do love biographies. So if I can go listen to a biography, even an autobiography, I'm like, dude, some of the guys on my arm. We got Ben Franklin, we've got George Washington. Is it Isaac something or other is the author who does a lot of big writings on these dudes.
Okay.
He did the Steve Jobs book as well. And just go and learn about these magnificent people who've been in history. And I'm a firm believer that history repeats itself.
Sure.
So what can we pick up and learn from from this powerhouse of a dude who was alive 200 years ago?
Yeah.
What can I pull from this book of what that man was doing 200 years ago to be successful, and how can I implement that into my life today?
You know, you say that, and I totally agree. And then I compare that to what's happened over like the last 2.5 years in terms of cancel culture, where like if you tweeted something like 5 years ago, or maybe made a mistake, then any other good you've done or any other innovation that you've come up with, it just totally gets discredited because you're not like this perfect human, which goes back to that everybody's got a hustle thing.
Yeah.
Like if you think that preacher standing on that stage has never made a mistake or thought a weird thought or whatever, you're smoking that good meth, man. We're all humans. What biography have you read that stuck with you the most, where maybe you didn't expect it, you're just like, damn, like that's crazy. I can't believe that I got to go back and I never even thought of this person this way. And the biography like opened your eyes to just how bold maybe they were, how much of a revolutionary because we're talking about revolutionaries on your arm there, you know. Was there one that like sticks out in your mind?
Not one. I would say small snippets and sections from many. What the hell's the name of the book? Phil Knight from Nike.
Oh yeah,
he has one. I forget what it's called right now. Fantastic book. And like everyone knows who Nike is, and he's an older guy at this point. He's in his 70s or 80s, right? He's the founder of Nike out of the Northwest, just like you.
Yeah.
Right. I never knew the whole story of how the company
the godfather of Oregon athletics. Go Ducks or not. I hate the Ducks, but yeah.
Yeah, but just learning his story and how that man just literally rolled the dice and promised shit where he never even knew if he could make it happen or not. And when I say promise shit, like he was promising shit overseas in Japan and China, and then coming back over here and then making promises, and somehow magically that shit came together and Nike is what it is today.
Man.
But just a crazy ass story.
Just writing checks with his mouth that he had no idea if his ass could cash.
Correct. But you got to understand something. The thing that blew my mind, this is all going down in like the 60s.
Right.
There wasn't a fucking cell phone or an email, dude.
No internet.
Hey,
no Zoom.
I just flew over to Japan.
Right.
You know, we ordered all of these shoes to come in.
Yeah.
And now I head back over to the U.S. I'm going to sit here and wait weeks, and hopefully the fucking shipment arrives.
Crazy.
Like, so you can't even send an email and say, hey, what's the status of my order?
You're just waiting on a freighter.
The only status update you're going to get is you're sending snail mail over there, and you're waiting weeks for it to come back.
Did it talk about all the financial risks he's taken, where he's just robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Yep, a lot of that.
It's nuts. Like the guys who've really changed industries, bro. Nothing was lined up and perfect before they took the leap. They were just like, "Fuck it, man! I'm stepping off this cliff, and if I go splat, then I gave it a shot."
Yeah.
You know, how much is there to be said for living a life like that? You know, your true do-it-yourself life. Yes, you're reaching out to people who've been there. Yes, you're trying to get around people who can give you perspective, teach you the language of success, because that is a language.
Sure.
But at a certain point, you just got to reach down, man, and you got to go, it's in me or it's not. And it's a different life, especially when you start hanging out with other people who are doing it.
It's a tough conversation you have to have sometimes with people as well. They tell you, hey, yeah, I wanna, right? And one thing my mom told me growing up is actions speak louder than words. Yeah. And man, that is so fucking true.
Man, no
right?
doubt.
You can tell me, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna stop with the fucking gonna bullshit. All right, and tell me once it's done, and I'll give you a high five.
I think you posted on social media sometime in the last couple of weeks about that, and that goes back to me talking about writing the book. I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I want to. Maybe you even tell people to write like close to you.
Yeah.
Man, showing is sure a hell of a lot harder, but means a lot more than saying.
Yep.
And it really, you know, all of those colloquialisms and sayings like, you know, actions speak louder than words or talk is cheap are so true, man.
Yep.
You know, we see all these best sales guys around talking all this stuff, right? But actually delivering, because you put in the hard yards and you had to toil and trudge to deliver. Maybe you promise a client something,
sure,
and it is not working out, and you've got to put in some longer hours and stuff like that. But you are bound and determined to deliver what you promised them to deliver. Goes down to just showing who you are. Do you have integrity or don't you? What's your experience been in the entrepreneur space and then over into the coaching space of seeing these different approaches where a lot gets promised and often not that a lot gets delivered?
Yeah, in my experience, most businesses are real strong on the front end. So when it comes to sales and marketing, they got it. It's the back end, the fulfillment, the delivery that is fucked. So a lot of organizations will be really strong on the front end where they've got, either paid or organic marketing in place. They're generating leads out the ass. They've got a sales process. They've got closers on the team who are taking these from lead to close sale, collect the money. We call it get the bag.
Yeah.
Right? They got the bag and, okay, cool, let's onboard this client. And after the onboarding, it just fizzles out. Like now there's no fucking structure for this person who came into this organization, whether it's a service-based company or it's a coaching and mastermind. That's irrelevant at this point. But I see so many businesses that are strong on the front end. And when you start diving into the leaders of the company, right? If you read Rocket Fuel, and we talked about this the other day too, you get the differences: visionary versus integrator. Most of these.
What was that stat?
4-to-1. There's 4 visionaries to 1 integrator.
So a lot of people have really good ideas.
Yeah.
But very few people can actually put those ideas to work.
Correct. And if you actually take a deeper dive, if you looked at a DISC assessment, a personality assessment for a visionary, most of them are going to come up real high as a high D, right? They're very decisions made very quickly.
Big D energy.
Yeah. Right. And that all lines up to this whole front end of the business being strong. Like they're not detail oriented people to build the back end process for the deliverables.
Right.
I talk for a fucking living. You think I'd be better at this point.
Well, but if you are strong though on the front end, you see a lot of influencers like you just got to be more disciplined, man. You just got to fucking sit down and just fucking send those QuickBooks invoices, even if you hate it. Even if you're operating on a shoestring budget and you are an entrepreneur struggling, you're bootstrapping, isn't it smarter to go reach out and find someone who's an integrator, who could turn into an integrator, who can help you with the detailed stuff, who likes admin? Like you fucking hate admin. You like going and winning the new clients. You shouldn't double down on the fact that you're weak on admin by then putting yourself down or not doing it at all, losing the clients after they loved you because you can't deliver the deliverables. Yeah. That's got to be a decision, though, a tough decision for some entrepreneurs where they're looking at the bank account going, I can't afford help.
Yeah.
And I also
can't afford not to.
And I also have no more energy. Yeah. I'm tapped out. Yeah. How important is it to recognize that before it reaches like that critical mass where as an entrepreneur, you're just like, man, I need a full bottle of whiskey to get through like the night because I'm just cashed out, you know?
Yeah, it's super important. I see it very often. Someone goes in, they build this business, and let me rephrase. They don't build a business; they build a job, right? And I'm sure you've heard that before.
Oh yeah,
and it's
I've
really
done
true.
that
So
before. For fuck's sake,
that's how I fucking know it really well. It's covered heavily in the first book.
It is.
Right, but you go and you build this job where the business's success and daily operation requires your daily input. You're in there every single day, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, making the calls, sending the emails, writing the invoices, sending the QuickBooks, like you said. But one of the things that we need to understand is, yes, all of those are necessary for a business to operate and stay alive. However, you're not the best person to do every one of those roles. So one of the processes that I help a lot of clients with is figuring out, hey, what of these main verticals in the company? So you've got marketing, you got sales, you got operations, you've got legal, you've got HR, all that shit, right? Those are all the main verticals if you look at the org chart. Of these pieces here, which ones are you doing? And most people, if you put an org chart together, they'd have their initials and name on every one of those big motherfucking buckets, right? Which of these do you
got a big hat rack.
Oh, yeah.
Changing those hats over and over.
Which of these do you like doing? Which of these brings joy into your life? Which of these you can sit down and before long 8 hours is gone and you don't even realize that 8 hours passed? Like, we got to get you dialed into those only, right? But in order to do that, we've got to delegate the other shit off of your plate first. Okay, well, how do we do that, Tom? That's the biggest question.
Yeah.
Right. And this is not something I created. I stole it, and I'm going to give them credit here too. It's a company called Trainual. They have an online process. Basically, it's an onboarding software. So you hire somebody on your team, and it's onboarding, and you can build out your processes in there. They have a saying that is, do it, document, delegate.
Okay.
And I fucking love it. and I've lived it, and I've actually implemented this into several companies, and the shit works.
Do it, document it, delegate.
You have to do it, right? Which gives you, you don't have to be the best at it.
But at least you know how it gets done.
You know how it gets done.
And what's hard about it?
You're not an idiot, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is when you get to the delegation portion
you
of it.
got credibility, right?
Credibility, but you also know, hey, I just hired this person to come in, and they're trying to tell me that this is 5 hours worth of work, and I know for a fact I'm not the expert. I can get it done in 2 hours.
So you got this frame of reference that you could only have if you ran that marathon. You don't know what a fucking marathon is till you run one. Yeah. I never have. I probably never will.
Negative, sir. I will not be out there.
Zero desire.
None.
David Goggins and Iron Cowboy are just different types of humans, man. They might be more savage than human anyways. But so do it.
Yep. Document it.
Document it. The documenting is like, okay, I did it. It took me this long. It's this hard, and I think it's worth this amount of money.
Everyone fucks up the documentation. They overcomplicate the shit out of it.
Okay.
It's like, I got to sit there and write SOPs. Like, well, yeah, at some point we'll get there, but at first, no. Right? At first, it's as simple as you opening up an iNote and typing out some bullet points. Step 1, I fucking do this. Step 2, I do this. Step 3 and step 5, this is how we wrap it up. That's it. Right? Or there's a really awesome tool. It's a free tool called loom.com. Right? There's a paid version of it too. It is a screen recorder. Most of the things we're doing in this day and age in business is you're behind your computer doing something. I'm creating an invoice. This is how we update the CRM. This is how we fill out this update form. This is how we send the client the this, that, the other thing. Most of it's on a fucking computer. Record your screen. Record your voice as you speaking over, hey, this is step 1. This is how we do it. And now you've got I open a Google Doc or a spreadsheet, and here's a link to video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4. So now you've documented everything.
You got a whole manual.
You got a whole manual. You didn't type a fucking word.
Man.
So that's what I'm saying. People overcomplicate the shit out of it because they think they got to go in and write this fucking owner's manual, this SOP manual like it's 1986.
It's got to be like spiral bound, like the Jerry Maguire vision statement. You got to be at Kinko's at 3 a.m. getting it printed. So if you've got 4 visionaries for every 1 integrator, true integrator, who's got the personality for it, the skills for it, and like the acumen or the demeanor for it.
Yeah.
It would seem to me that the integrator would be super fucking valuable, if not more valuable than the visionary.
Yeah.
To where, do a lot of people think like, I don't know. This question's a weird question to ask. Do a lot of people think like I can't be an entrepreneur if I'm not a visionary? Like I'm an integrator. I'm really good at systems and processes. I can see the thing front to back, top to bottom, but I don't have a big eye for the future. Or if you have that entrepreneurial fire, you've got the same, like you're an integrator. Yeah. That's your jam, which is way fucking more valuable. Like, to me, vision is overrated because so many people get like, we got to scale, bro, 10x right now. And they can't even get to 2x because by the time they get like 6 months in, they're so fucking tired, wore out. Their wife hates them, whatever. And they're just like, oh my God, what did I get into? And I hate this. I hate myself because I can't deliver the deliverables because I'm strong on the front end but not on the back end. Are there people that the value of getting together with an integrator or being an integrator seems, I mean, just the simple laws of supply and demand would say that if you're an integrator, man, you can kind of call your shot.
Yeah, that's the entire reason that, my business is in place, and I'm grateful that it was delayed. Right? I told you I came down here to Texas to start the company. 30 days or so later, I get recruited into an organization, and I spend 20 months there helping them build their stuff and making it better. Right? In that time period, I learned, hey, what's the biggest need of all the entrepreneurs who were in this organization who we're serving? And it kept falling right back to the integrator.
It has
need integrator. How do I find an integrator? What are the systems and processes that need to be inserted, installed, created in my business in order to free up some of my time? And I don't care what the business is. There's a couple of them that are just copy and paste for any company that you're in.
Sure.
Right. How do we go and that now serve this client at a very high level and help them overcome some of these boundaries and hurdles? And that's what we're doing with it, right? So it's come in. We're going to have a 2-day on-site audit with you. We're going to tear into your business. The analogy is like you got an onion. You start peeling back the different layers of the onion until we get to the core. We're going to dive in and peel this fucker apart until you hate me.
Are you then able to help connect them with the personnel who can handle the integrating tasks that you are super familiar with? They might even not know like the degree to which they need integration help until you're like, bro, this thing could 10x if you would just hire this and this and this type of person.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of that. I'm not going out and finding an integrator for them. It is a service I'm considering in the future, but I need a real team behind me to do that properly at the level that I want.
It seems like it would be so hard to do.
It is.
It has to be.
Because you're dealing with different personalities and different human beings. Every visionary, every person has a different personality. You know, I have to go find the polar opposite of this person, and they have to like each other and work well together.
Can you are you like a pig on a truffle? Are you like, nah, you think you're an integrator. You ain't no integrator. Can you sniff that out pretty fast?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because listen, most of the integrators are going to be detail-oriented people.
Because you can't bullshit a bullshitter?
No.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gum?
Sure.
It's, I think everybody loves to brainstorm. Brainstorming's fun. That's why drinking's fun.
Sure.
Because everybody feels a little more creative. They feel like euphoric. Like what could be in the future. But what could be in the future all depends on like what we do today, tomorrow, and then like the next 1,000 todays and tomorrows. And that's where like we talked about on Monday, the mundane and the monotonous is what, man, it douses the flame of so many entrepreneurial spirits.
Yeah, it does.
It's just like I can't see the forest for the trees, and I just want to tap out. Do you meet a lot of guys and gals who are at the stage where they're just like, man, I need help. I want to tap out. I know I'm onto something here, but I can't quite seem to get it right.
Yeah, there's different levels to business, in my opinion. That startup phase, and that, you know, now that we have to get sales and marketing nailed, we've got to, you know, build recurring revenue so our monthly expenses are covered. Now we got to start building the team. I see a lot of entrepreneurs who just go into complete self-sabotage mode when they're there. It's like, cool, everything's working good now. What can I go in here and fuck up?
Oh, the chaos thing. Yeah.
See that? Like, hey, there's not enough chaos going on. But
so what do they do? What are some examples of shit they do? They just go in, like, maybe create like strife in terms of the like chemistry in their personnel, or they go like take on a job they have no business taking on.
Yeah, they'll kind of overstep boundaries and go and do a spot check on a team member, right? And then all of a sudden they're taking over the process. And like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we have a very structured process in place here. You just came in through a monkey wrench into the whole program, think you're going to do better and help everything out. Meanwhile, you just fucked it up, and you delayed your team here for 6 hours, right? Or the big change or big deal I see from a lot of visionaries is, and this is where a good integrator comes into play. They'll go in, have a quarterly meeting. We'll set the key initiatives for the next 90 days, and 15, 20, 30 days into it, the visionary's like, nope, got a new idea. We're going over here now. Meanwhile, the integrator has just built all of this shit out. Hey, this is who's responsible for this part of the project. These are the due dates. It's project management 101. Right? And that's what like a good software like ClickUp will help you do and track. Now, you got your whole team going in this direction, getting all these big key initiatives done. The visionary's over here in fucking na-na land.
But you're only a third of the way through, and the visionary wants to pull the plug, or at least, no, keep doing that, but we're going to also do this. And you're like, we can only do one. Does the integrator have to be able to stand up to the visionary and be like, hey, we even wrote this out, man. Like, what are we, or ma'am?
Yeah.
So the integrator's not just a passive, detail-oriented numbers person.
No, you do not want a yes man or a yes woman for an integrator.
You got to have somebody who checks you into the boards if you're getting off track.
Yep.
Why do I keep coming back to hockey?
It's cool.
Yeah.
Big dudes. Drop the shoulder.
Fucking A. How many times have you had to do that as an integrator or as an integrator coach? Be like, yo, like we got to get together face to face and talk this thing through, man. It's not working. Or you're fucking everything up that we all made a commitment to chase down.
Yeah. You know, I'm the kind of person where it's like before I will have that conversation and let it come out of my mouth, let me think about it for a second. Let me analyze it from their perspective. Like I truly believe I've been blessed on this planet with the ability to see all three sides of a coin, right, wrong, and in between.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll try to put myself in the shoes of that person and say, hey, is this really a valid idea? Is this really going to help the company? Is this really going to help us get X, Y, and Z done? But at the end of the day, if it doesn't align with the big yearly goals that we've set, then it's a hell no. Because what winds up happening is it's a fucking distraction.
Do you have some visionaries that are like, don't fucking care what you say. It's my company. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, they're not the right fit for me. Like, no, cool. You guys can go do what you want. Keep fucking things up. Like, we're just not going to have a business relationship.
Sure.
We can go out afterwards and get some food and a drink, but, long term, nah.
Yeah, because you can't build a house if every time you turn around, they're trying to add on to the house. Like, at a certain point, you got to pour that foundation, frame the walls, put the roof on. That's why I just always kind of cringe when I see like really young dudes who I love ambition, man. Ambition is like a cornerstone of what this country is all about.
Yeah.
Like what we aspire to be. It's not the American dream. It's the American fucking fact if you have the grits and the guts to chase that motherfucker down. But you got to stick it. You got to stick in the hard yards and put in the big hits every single day. You can't always be like you said, new idea, here we go. Yeah. And everybody gets caught in no man's land. Like, what? Wait, what? Because a lot of people want to know the direction they need to go so they know in the morning what they can count on. Like, when I get up tomorrow, this is my plan.
Yeah. Another big problem that I see with a lot of hard-charging visionaries is they come up with an amazing idea. And granted, it may be amazing. It may be the next greatest offer. Hey, we got this new thing we're going to offer. And they will go out and offer it immediately.
It's not ready yet.
Dude, it ain't ready. And what winds up happening is now the operations side of the team is like, running like crazy circles trying to organize this shit. We had a situation happen 2 years ago or so. An event was brought up like that. Facebook comment went out and over 220 people replied. And those were leads. So my conversation was like, hey, man, like 30 minutes heads up before you posted that, and I could have built a system that would have captured all those leads.
Sure.
And now we wouldn't manually be going through Facebook posts trying to, send manual DMs to people for information.
Oh. Does it create quite a bit of resentment in the chemistry, your personnel when, someone it's the really hard thing, right, about business, right? You don't want to douse everyone's creativity and just like, no, fuck you. This is how it is, boring or not. I'll find someone else to do your job. I mean, you kind of want to have this collaborative chemistry where everyone communicates and cooperates, but at the same time, we got to be at least somewhat organized to be able to pull this off with any sort of professionalism or success.
Yeah, I agree. It can strain a relationship if that crap continues over time. But I mean, look, man, at the end of the day, the business is in business to make money.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go out and you're actually adding to the bottom line and the actions of that person really did help the company grow, and you know what? Yeah, this kind of did suck. And everyone had to work a couple more hours to organize this on the back end. Have the conversation with that person. Be like, look, we did make great money here. We netted 20K, whatever it is. I'm just making up some numbers, right? We netted 20K, but we wound up having to keep the staff here overtime for an additional 4 hours per person in order to clean up the back end of this in the time frame that we had to do it.
So we broke even?
Yeah, so, that costs us, X, Y, Z. We either broke even or we thought we made 20K, but we really only made like 8.
Do a lot of entrepreneurs not put enough value on their time? I know you do time audits. We talked about that in the first pod we sat down for, where they're like, oh, I made great money on that. But like, so in my business, construction, it's way more profitable to replace a roof where I have to visit the job site 2 times than to go build a detached garage where I have to visit the job site like 72 times. But the price on that garage, boy, on the front end, you're like, man, that's a big contract. When you then boil it all down, it almost makes you nauseous when you're just like, oh my God, I made like $12 an hour on that job.
Yeah.
Is that a really tough conversation you have to have with some people when you do watch how they spend their time and how they're allocating it and they think they're being profitable, but in the end, it's just going right straight through it like you're straining spaghetti noodles?
Yeah, I've been on the backside of that conversation. My last company, the GPS installation company out of New York, we won a job, we had to go do some camera installs for Coca-Cola in Boston, and it was the middle of fucking winter. right? And these were very, very complex camera installs. They were, I think, 4 cameras on the trailer, tractor trailers, 4 cameras on the trailer, plus all the gear that goes in the tractor itself. You've got to connect wires from A to B, and these things disconnect, so you can imagine the complexity there alone.
Sure.
And these were, you've probably seen these in newer cars, that bird's eye view.
Yeah.
When you put the car in reverse, you get like that top-down view.
Yeah, because you got 12 or 15 on
Right, that's what this camera system was.
Okay.
And in order to install them properly, you have to calibrate the cameras. So in order to calibrate the cameras, there are these custom grids that they give, and you got to lay out these grids. Like if this is the trailer, you lay out these grids around the trailer. You turn on the cameras, and you have to dial them in and measure everything, and basically this thing, aligns. It's a process.
Yeah,
right?
I bet.
It's a long job to install the shit, and it's a couple hours to calibrate it afterwards. So we put a quote in for this thing. We win it, right? We win this bid, and we had just brought on a fractional CFO into the company.
What's that mean?
So we're at a point at time at this company where I couldn't afford to bring in a full-time CFO for a couple $100,000 a year.
Sure.
Right? Same deal that I do with fractional COO work that I do now. But I needed somebody who could come in who really was a nerd when it came to running projections, Excel spreadsheets, and new finances much better than I did.
Sure.
Right? Again, not one of my strengths as a business owner. Full transparency. So let's get the finance guys in here. And he's like, give me a couple of jobs that you guys got out right now that you've put quotes or bids on. And we were like, hey, let's take a look at this Coca-Cola job because we got to give them an answer. Like they had called us at this point and we're like, yeah, let's roll. We just got to lock in the dates. So he builds this custom Excel model, runs all the numbers for us, and this exact situation happens where it's like, oh, that was a great big gross number at the top. God. And by the time we added all the expenses, all the team, all the drive, the travel, the hotel, the gas, the tolls, dude, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
So we figured out.
That's so fucking deflating, man.
We were one day of a shutdown would have put us upside down on that job.
Wow.
Right? This is Boston in the fucking winter.
Yeah, man.
You're guaranteed to get nailed with the snowstorm. This is like a couple month long project.
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to get nailed with bad weather multiple times.
Sure.
So one day of bad weather would have put us upside down. If I hadn't had the system built or the right team member in, the fractional CFO, we would have taken a bath on that job.
They caught it enough that you were able to, stop the hemorrhaging.
Tough conversation. So
yeah.
we
were you bummed or pissed or both?
I was bummed because I'm a lot like you. If I tell you I'm going to do something, be there at a certain time, I don't ever want to be the guy who comes back to you and is like, hey, man, sorry, I told you this, but I really can't. I had to go have that conversation with one of our big camera suppliers. And he wasn't thrilled. He went and had the conversation, wound up finding another vendor who did it within the budget they had, which, cool, I get it's business.
Yeah.
And a week or two later, a guy called me up, and he actually thanked me. He's like, look, I know you were in a tough spot there, but I appreciate you being open and transparent enough and willing to proactively communicate with me, because what winds up happening is the resentment comes in any business. I don't care what you're doing, service-based business, coaching, doesn't make a difference. Resentment comes into play when I tell you, hey, we're going to work together, you're going to pay me $5,000 a month for coaching.
Right.
Right. Meanwhile, I know that I'm worth $8,000 or $9,000 a month.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, we're a couple months into this, and I'm just like, man, I got 3 more guys knocking on my door who want to pay me $10,000 a month, and I got you locked in over here at $5,000. Resentment can roll in.
Sure.
Right? And that's just the way it is. So resentment could have rolled in on this project where it's like, hey, I know we're not making money on this. We're actually losing money.
Yeah.
Now you're halfway into the fucking project. You can't back out at that point. And you wind up losing your ass or your business.
Did you work with that person again in the future?
Sure did.
Because you went and you were like, look, this isn't going to be a fun conversation, but I don't know what else to tell you except this is where we're at, and we got to figure out a way around it. Yeah,
I wound up sharing that Excel spreadsheet with the guy. I was like, dude, these are our hard numbers. These are our actual costs, expenses. This is what it is. This is what we had quoted you. This is the net. I'm like, and it was just, again, open and transparent conversation. Yeah. Would you be able to operate and run your business with these numbers?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, absolutely not.
Right.
So like, all right, then cool.
Wow, that's crazy. When you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur of any kind, and you're trying to identify an integrator, like we talked about like 10 minutes ago, not an easy job. I find this to be true when I'm looking for salespeople. Yeah. I need dependable, available, reliable, more then I need charismatic and talented.
Yep.
Because charismatic and talented isn't always getting out of bed. And dependable, reliable, available is. And I can turn that into someone who can at least tell a joke and get a connection to a degree to get a client to know, like, and trust them to sign a deal. Your integrators, I'm sure you run across very talented integrators, but they're not always available, reliable, dependable. What are you looking for when do you have clients who are like, Thomas, I have these 4 candidates, and you're looking at their resumes and you're going, okay, that's out. That one's out. It's down to these 2 because you're looking at, what are your main characteristics? If you're trying to identify an integrator, what do you need to be looking for?
I don't give a fuck what your resume says.
Yeah. Those aren't even really worth the paper they're printed on these days, are they?
I could care less. The only reason that I'm real big on hiring processes. I've got a good relationship with WiseHire, wisehire.com.
Yeah.
They are a fantastic hiring platform, and it's dumb cheap. I don't know about you, but I've tried the Indeeds and the ZipRecruiters, and they were all just a complete fucking joke. And if you set your budget to $700 a month, they made sure that $700 a month went out the window.
Yeah.
And they usually delivered listen, all hiring is sales and marketing. Or let's put it first, marketing and then sales. Right? It's lead generation. And the Indeeds and the ZipRecruiters they're just delivering trash leads to you. So I found WiseHire, and they post out to 80 to 100 different job boards, including Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and it's $199 a month.
Wow.
Fucking no-brainer. Let's roll.
No doubt.
And the best part about it is there's an actual hiring process built into the software. Because I was doing it old school in the past. I'd build a custom form and then a landing page, and then me just being an integrator nerd putting all these different software systems together on the back end to make a process. And I was like, man, that's a lot of work, and I got to go teach other people how to go function and use this thing. It wasn't working that well. And then one of my clients, who hires a lot more than even I was hiring, put me onto it. He's like, you need to check this out. And I did, and I ran it for a couple months in one of the companies that I was working for, and had a lot of success with it. And I was like, okay, cool. So all the hiring processes I talk about in my first book, a lot of it was built into WiseHire already. And then I went in there. Yeah. I went in there and added a couple of other elements to the process.
Like customized it?
Yeah. Like little things that I'm looking for.
Sure.
Right. And this goes, I don't give a fuck what role you're hiring for. This is why I'm kind of going here with this. Couple things. You fill out the application. Inside WiseHire, you have to upload a resume. You have to complete a DISC assessment. It's 20 questions. Should take you 15 to 20 minutes. Can get me a good idea about your personality. And there is 3 to 4 pretty much multiple choice questions. Do you have a driver's license? Are you local? And you can change those questions depending upon the role. Do you have sales experience? Do you have CRM experience? Do you understand Microsoft Excel or G Suite? But those are all different customizable questions. The reason I'm mentioning all those is those pieces there are non-negotiable.
Okay.
If you are a human being who wants to come in and work at this organization,
right,
you're going to answer and fulfill every fucking piece that I just put in front of you.
Sure.
If you don't upload your resume, if you skip over the DISC assessment, which it gives you the option to skip over, by the way, or you skip over the 3 to 4 assessment questions, you're fucking dead to me.
You're disqualified.
Literally, you drag them to the disqualified column and see you later.
Do you ever see them come back and complete everything?
Nah, rarely. So I have a 48-hour time limit.
Okay.
In 48 hours, it tells you what it timestamps when they came in and applied.
Sure.
Right. If you applied here, let's say the 7th, 8th. If you applied the 8th, you have until 2 days from now to submit all of the shit that I
You got 48 hours.
48 hours. Wow. And that's each stage of the process.
Till the body is cold.
That's it.
And we're done. Do you meet new hires in person for like the last interview before you? What are some questions? You don't have to give away like the secret sauce. I don't want anyone to watch or listen to this and then come apply and think they've got the answers to the test. And I'm sure some of what you're doing when you're meeting someone is you're intuitively reading them, their body language. Are they engaged? Are they even taking notes? Like, did they bring their own water? Did they show up looking like they were out till 3 a.m.? All that, right?
All that.
What are some things that you want to know, though, from that? For example, I asked somebody, like, what motivates you? I do not want to hear, like, well, I want to make sure that, like, the great horned owl in the, Rocky Mountains survives. I mean, that's important. I love nature, but, bro, we are fucking here to make money. Like, that better motivate you, or why are we let's go fishing. What are some questions that you're asking people?
It's a good question. Depends on the stage that they're in, hiring wise. And let me clarify with this. Hiring is sales and marketing. The difference is with sales, you're trying to pull as many people through the process as possible. With hiring, I'm trying to pull as few people through as possible.
Right.
So I say that because the hiring process, the way that I do it, is developed and designed to intentionally eliminate as many people as possible. I am looking for every fucking reason under the sun to eliminate you from my process. Just give me the opportunity and we're done.
It makes sense.
Yep.
Do a lot of entrepreneurs get bummed out though? Because they're like, well, I don't see any, there's no candidates, there's no prospects. We need people. And then they start reaching. And it's when you overreach, because I've fucking made this mistake. I'm sure you have too.
I need a warm body.
and they have a few things that are okay and a fuck ton of red flags, but we can fix all those red flags and it never works.
No, it all comes down to core value alignment.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the questions we're asking, a lot of the things that we're asking them to do in the beginning stages of the hiring process is giving us a really good deep insight into what they believe in at a very deep intrinsic core value level.
When you go and you get started with somebody like your ideal client now and you go do that time audit, are there just a couple of things that you notice that are like very common themes where your clients waste time and it's kind of the same, you see the same thing commonly repeated through different clients? And if there are some commonalities, can you shine a light on that so that, our interested entrepreneurs can be, self-awareness is fucking important. Sure. And if you just think, oh, no, I'm good, bro. I'm Jeff Bezos 2.0, man. Just watch me blow up. You're in for a rude awakening. What are those common time-wasting items?
Time-wasting items? Man, there's a lot. Scrolling, so being used by social media and not using social media.
Yes.
That's a big one right there. And listen, we're all guilty of it, myself included.
Sure.
Right? That's a major one.
Do you look at your time, your own screen time?
Yeah, the iPhone hits me once a week with how many hours I spent staring at the screen, and I look at that as a stat, and it usually tells me if I'm up or down and whatnot. So, which is rough because a lot of what we do and how we interact and how we do business is tied to that phone today. So it's a tough metric to look at too. But there's those weeks where you've got shit weather, you're down, we just came off a holiday weekend where the time is up because you're sitting on the couch at home, hanging out with the wife and kids or something, and you don't realize it, but you picked up the phone and you just burned another 33 minutes on Facebook.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's got to be the number one thing you notice.
Yeah, that for sure. Them doing everything, not knowing what their time is worth per hour. So even before the time study, dude, what are you worth an hour? We have to set this baseline KPI.
How are we arriving at that?
It's a real simple calculation. It's not perfect. There's better ways to do it. But it's funny. I have a financial coach who I work with, and she's got this kick-ass dialed in spreadsheet. And we ran my basic number calculation to hers, and it was off by $4 an hour.
Wow.
I was like, all right, that's
impressive.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I'll take that.
That's great.
Yeah. So basically, what's the gross amount of money that you put into your personal bank account this year divided by 2080? That's going to give us a baseline of what you're worth per hour.
Okay. So, the same way an architect, an engineer, or an attorney would do it if they were billing you by the hour, pretty much, right?
Yep.
Interesting. And when you want that number to go up,
you do.
That gross amount that goes in your personal account to go up, you have to start looking at the long-term things that you have to do to make yourself more valuable and make yourself more of an authority.
I look at it opposite first. I want to see what I can cut out of my life immediately.
Okay.
Right? Not the long-term shit because, dude, it's going to take you forever to get there. And the mind is kind of going to shut down it's too far away.
What are some things people could cut out, right now?
Stop mowing your lawn. Stop picking up the dog shit. Okay. Stop cleaning your fucking laundry at home. Stop washing your windows. Dumb shit like that. Stop washing your own car.
Sure.
Now, there may be things in there that certain people have kicked back to me, and they're like, well, I actually do that because that's my downtime, and I get to, clear my mind.
Right.
Cool, I get it.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Right.
Right? But at the same point in time, you want to look, and this is where the time study comes into play. Most entrepreneurs, small business owners, right, bootstrap dudes, they're stuck in these $10 an hour tasks within their own company.
Yeah, you got the $10 an hour, the $50 an hour, the $1,000 an hour, the $5,000 an hour buckets.
Yep.
And you got to be in those last two.
Got to be in the last two.
But those almost don't get touched some days, right?
Because you're too fucking busy sending emails and invoices to clients and doing shit that you hate doing in the company.
And do you come across a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, man, there's a lot of shit I do every day that I hate, and I just accept that as the way it is, and it doesn't have to be that way?
Nobody's going to do it as good as I can.
Oh,
or
yeah.
I will. I hear that all the time.
Sure.
And I agree. Okay, and you have to understand something, right? Like, you're the owner of this company. Nobody is ever going to fucking care as much as you do.
Right.
Right? There's some real shit there.
Yeah.
Okay.
No doubt.
However, let's play devil's advocate here. So you mean to tell me that if we do a document delegate, we build a system for this, we figure out who we need to hire, we bring that person onto your team, right? And all of a sudden this person is doing all this shit, that it's not going to be better for you in your life?
Yeah. It would just make your life more enjoyable just in general. Or you waking up in the morning not going, God, I got to deal with this $10 and $50 an hour bucket.
So now your worth per hour increases, your gross revenue increases into your personal bank account because you're focused on tasks that are worth more.
What about the people who automatically come right back at you and they're like, yeah, but there's no good people to hire right now. I can't find them anywhere.
Because you're a fucking scumbag loser yourself.
The good people
Dude, that
thing?
just came off harsh. But if you're out there telling me that there's no good people out, like nobody wants to work, like you're probably a fucking slave driver, right? You have no idea what the culture is or what it is in your own company, right? Get some clarity on that. There's a good book on it too, by the way. Everyone's got to hustle, man.
That's right, bro. That's right.
Right. But you got to get some clarity there, and you got to figure out what it is you believe in, and so on and so forth. And don't be a shitbag to people. Right. What you put out into the universe comes back at you.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And it just drives me crazy when I've heard it for years since I first got into business. Oh, there's no good people out there to work. Dude, there's 8 fucking billion people on the planet.
Well, you just said it comes back to you. I mean, that is a law of the universe. But how many times in business have you either been victimized by like a client who had way more money than you, and they're like, oh, sorry, fuck you. It's what the contract says. It's business. Take me to court, right? How many times have you heard the term, oh, this is business, not personal? And then people operate that way, and then they wonder why shit happens that's bad in business. Don't you think that karma and the universe and all those laws of like do unto others do apply in business?
Yeah.
Is it a misnomer when people are like, hey man, this business not personal. Fuck you.
No, that shit definitely applies. I've seen it firsthand in my own life too.
Yeah. The take, right? All the time, never give, or just the misrepresentation of what value either is or isn't there. Yeah.
I want to circle back to something because I skipped over it because I went on another tangent. Right? It happens when we're doing podcasts.
Oh, it's all good,
right?
man. Yeah.
I was getting to before, the business owner, if we go and find somebody like, yeah, you're the best at it, right? And no one's ever going to do it as good as me. Yeah, cool. I'll agree with that. But if we can go find somebody who can do it 60 to 70% as good as you, and there's core value alignment, they believe in the core values that are here at this company, that person's a fucking keeper.
Really? 60 to 70? Yeah. Is that because you're going to get improvement up to like 80 to 85?
You will over time.
Okay.
But now what happens when we go hire 2 people at 60%?
You're at 120?
You're at 120.
Okay.
Right?
I feel you.
You're not at 120 on your best fucking day.
Yeah. Do you agree with some of what Brad Lee says when he talks about like how productive could I be in a day? Well, I only have 24 hours, but what if I hire 10 people? Now I get 240 hours in one day.
Yep.
Don't you think though there's a point of diminishing return where you're like, well, but now if I have that many people, now I have to have managers, and then I got to a lot of people think I get good management, I have good leadership, and then I never have to talk to those 240. But doesn't your culture fall apart when you when it's Europe at the top and it just becomes you never even talk to the people who are actually talking to the clients who you built your fucking business with in the first place?
I think it's when you look at a centralized command style organizational chart. When I say centralized command, I'm talking like, president or CEO, COO, and then everyone else out underneath them. You can't use that as a communication diagram, in my opinion. Yes, this is the org chart for the company. This is how shit flows. This is who reports to who. But dude, if I got a fucking problem and I know that the guy I report to directly is not the one who's best to answer that, there's got to be autonomy in the company where I can go to somebody else who's the best fit.
So if the house is on fire and we're losing this battle, if I don't talk to the general, you have the green light to hey man, what's up? So I got this question. Feel like it's one for you. And I just wanted to end run it right to you to get an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And look, like you said before, like if people are saying there's no good people to hire, like if you're really saying that, are you like out there meeting new people? Are you like friendly? Are you accessible? Are you approachable? Do you attract anyone worth a goddamn to you?
Goes back to the whole networking thing before too.
Yeah.
Right. You got to get out there and get out of your own shell, because oftentimes as business owners we get so stuck in this routine and we're in our own little bubble. We wake up, we may or may not have a morning routine, and then all of a sudden you're at the office and you're in reactionary mode all day long,
putting out fires.
And then you're home.
Sure.
You're not out there interacting and seeing anybody else in this magnificent planet that we live on.
That's
There's
a good way to
lot of
put
fucking
it.
People here, dude.
Yeah, no doubt, man. There's a lot of really cool shit too that we don't even know about because we're so tunnel visioned. You're a big dude, but when you started out in business, was it hard for you to network? Were you shy? Did you have to break through some like, I'm unsure, I'm not experienced.
Yep.
What are people going to think? Do people think I even belong here? Like, who do you think you are, Tomas Keenan? Yeah.
Yeah, I still get hit with that stuff now, which still
of actual people saying that to you, not just your own personal doubts and wonderings, but actual.
Yeah, we had some shit pop up a couple months ago. Me and my wife got hit by some older friends who are no longer friends. That hit us with that kind of crap. I was like, okay, cool. I appreciate you really telling us who the fuck you are.
Right.
But yeah, man, that happens. Like the Tom that you see here in front of you today, this is not the natural version of me.
Yeah.
Right? I'm one of those hybrid dudes where I can be outgoing, right? But the extroverted, but the introverted portion of me needs to go and fucking heal up and regenerate for days later.
Sure. You got to recover.
Yeah, I need to recover.
Feel you there,
I need to be solo and alone, like hiding out in my home office or in the theater room, kind of just chilling. Right. But I do have the ability to turn on the extroverted portion of me when required, but that is not my natural way. But it's taken a lot for me to do. Like the integrator portion of me is someone who's an observer. Right. And I'm a firm believer that, we've all heard this shit before, 2 ears, one mouth. When I go into a new setting, a new group, a new event, a new venue, a new business, I don't like to be the one who's doing a lot of the talking.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, I run my mouth in podcasts and stages and whatnot.
Sure.
Cool. Like, it's part of what I do now. But I'm more of someone who's going to sit back and observe, and I'm going to basically take all of this in, and then I'm going to formulate a game plan, and I'm going to speak when I'm required to, or when it's best for me to come up and speak because I have something important to say.
Watching the battle from like a high point where you can see the weak points and you can see which battalions are like out of shape or just whatever it is. So back to the book thing. What did writing your first book do for you, like mentally? Like I belong here. I did something I said I was going to do and I did a hard thing. And then what did it do for your business and your brand to write that first book?
Definitely boosted confidence because it was a marathon. Right. We've all taken on this. You're in construction. I work blue collar jobs for 20-something years of my life. I get it. There's that point in time in a project where you're like, what the fuck did I get myself involved in? Right. And that's how you know you're in a good project. It's like you get that halfway middle point and you're like, oh, shit.
For sure.
That's
where
how
there's
I
like
felt.
no point of you can't quit now because you put so much into it. But you're like, holy fuck, I don't know if I can make it though.
That's how I felt with this book, the first one.
Did you battle like some personal demons, like that self-doubt I was talking about? Like, can I even get this done?
So first or second round edits come back from the editors.
Oh, yeah.
And, dude, I'm looking at Microsoft Word, and it's got these scratches and comments. Like, dude,
were they all in red, too?
Oh, my God. My brain almost exploded.
I bet, man. Shit.
And I called up my editor, and I'm like, look, I don't know if this is for me. I've already paid this person, right? And part of hiring a good editor, that editor is also a coach, right? She basically told me, she asked me, she goes, are you uncomfortable? I was like, yeah. She goes, okay, good. What I need you to do is close your eyes and picture the uncomfortable version of you sitting on a park bench. Now I want the other version of you to sit down next to the uncomfortable version of you and put your arm around that uncomfortable version of you and get used to being fucking uncomfortable. And she hung up on me.
She's like a tough love psychiatrist or some shit. Wow, she hung up on you. That's funny.
So I was like, oh, shit. And that was it, man. I was like, all right, well, I'm this far into it. Let's just piece by piece, let's just get it done.
Like, or burn the ships, or I like burn the ships.
Yeah.
I prefer deconstruct the ships and start building bridges with that lumber,
So
man.
let me sidetrack here, okay? Good old fucking Facebook.
Yeah.
I was in a Facebook group a couple months ago, and
Fucking
someone said
Facebook.
something, and it was a cool thing. I was like, pat on the back, high fiving them, and I wrote, "Burn the fucking boats."
Right?
That was my reply on
Yeah,
Facebook.
sure.
Facebook shut me down for a week
Wait, why?
because I wrote.
Is that a terroristic
Pretty
threat?
much, yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Burn the boats?
I wrote burn.
There's
the
like a
fucking
whole
boats.
there's a whole
There's books on
coaching
it.
there's a
Yeah.
whole like coaching like we're not gurus. Isn't it burn the, isn't there
Burn the
outfit
ships.
called is it?
Yeah.
You got shit like for 2 weeks they put you in the Facebook jail or whatever.
I was
really?
at Facebook jail for
The
burn
fuck,
the
man?
fucking boats.
Did you listen into any of that Rogan Zuckerberg podcast like
No,
a week
I haven't.
ago?
I haven't.
My
I should do it.
That guy talks more like that guy's like a hybrid of like 30 politicians in one. Have you seen the videos of Zuckerberg trying to do like MMA training recently? Bro.
I gotta get on it.
Yeah, well, take some of those hours that you're wasting on social media and look that shit up. You said that the book is that writing a book is the ultimate business card.
Hell yeah, it is.
Because you hand that to someone and they automatically get an opinion of you, which is probably something along the lines of, wow, this person sticks to some shit.
Yeah, it's less than 0.1% or some shit of the human population as a published author.
Wow.
So you come at somebody, and instead of handing them a business card, you hand them a book, right? Here's the cool thing with a book. Whether you read or not is irrelevant. I'm going to hand you this book, right? And you're going to go home, right? Whether I meet you at a trip, conference, whatever,
Sure.
you're going to go home, you're going to take this thing out, and you're going to stick it on a coffee table, on your desk, on a nightstand. You're either going to read it or you're not. If you don't read it, or you do, eventually it's going to go up on a bookshelf, most likely.
Right.
But you're not going to throw this out.
True story.
If I hand you a business card, you're going to look at that thing, and by the time you get back to your hotel room, it's in the fucking
yeah, I
trash.
take a picture and throw it away.
If you're lucky, you take a picture.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often
not
either.
at all.
So you wrote this one.
Yeah.
How long ago did you write this one?
June 2019, it came out.
So June 2019. Wow, you look way meaner now than you do on this picture. Like way more. You just like I said, you look like a villain from Boondock Saints. What got you going on this one? Wanting to write this one?
So
Were you immediately when you were done with this?
yeah.
You're like, I wrote my book.
I was
On to
fucking
the
done.
next.
No, my editors were like, "You got more books than you. Let's
Really?
go." And I was like, "Hold the fuck on," because I just gave that thing all I had.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the
biatch.
brakes. I need a breather. I
Right.
need to go. Like, dude, I took my life's experiences
Sure.
and lessons and poured it into that book.
And poured it all in and got a whole bunch of it red marked out.
Yeah, so let me.
Like this is the distilled, like this is the
Yeah,
top shelf
correct.
tequila version
let
of
me-
your shit.
Let
right
me go
here.
live my life a little more and get
Sure.
some more experiences in, and then we'll go talk about
Get some
another
more
book.
gray hairs.
Yeah, I got some more already.
There's
trust
like
me.
none in this picture, bro. None. Can you take an author seriously if they don't have gray hair? Truly.
Good question.
Maybe if they're bald. So you write this one,
Yeah.
you're like, I gotta go live more life.
Yeah.
Where did the seeds of this book get planted?
So I co-authored this book.
Yeah.
I was one of 6 authors on here, and I was like, all right.
Were you kind of running point though? Since you've already written one?
So Jessica Dennehy's on here.
Yeah.
She's also written a book as well at that point in
Yeah,
time.
she's cool.
Yeah, she's good people. She's
Yeah.
a good friend of mine. And a couple other people on this, but I think almost everyone now is a published author on their own
Sweet.
on this now. But we had all kind of come together, and we were all experts in different areas of business, and it was like, hey, we want to write a book for those people who are thinking or in that startup phase of the business. Like, what if you were to go in right now and start a business from scratch? What do you really need to know?
Are you guys talking about like, hey, if I had to do it all over, are you thinking about it from the angle of, hey, if I had to do it all over, don't make this mistake,
Yeah.
do this and it's cool.
Yeah, and in here we have experts in multiple verticals that you need help with when it comes to business.
So this is like reading a mastermind.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
where you're going and you're sitting with people who've done it, but who are also not like Lord of the Rings hoarding that knowledge. They're like, look, this is what I learned. This is what was ugly. This is what was pretty.
yeah. So you got in here. You've got people. We have an attorney. We've got 2 business partners who own a CPA firm at a St. George, Utah. We've got a personal finance expert
Okay.
in here. We have a business lender finance expert
Okay.
in here. and we have a credit card processing expert.
I was going to say, if you said that you had an attorney, some finance guys, and an engineer in there, I would ask you how that fucker ever even made it to press. But what's it like collaborating on a book with people? Obviously, we have tech now.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Most of the communication for this was actually done via Facebook Messenger.
Okay, cool.
Created a group in Facebook Messenger.
Now you're so on Facebook that and they can honor you with the algorithm, man.
Take it all. We had the editor in there. We had everyone who was a partner within the book. Since we had an attorney and a CPA involved, we actually structured it. There's an LLC behind this.
Awesome.
So any of the book sales and whatnot get kicked up to the LLC, and if anything else is ever going to happen from this book, speaking engagements or any other crap that we may want to put together, the structure is already in place.
Gotcha.
So we built it, from the ground up the right way. The same kind of shit that we're telling people to do here in the book, we actually went out and did it.
Do you have more? Do you have more Tom Keenan only stuff, content books in you at some point?
Funny story.
Okay.
I started on the second solo.
Yeah.
And I got it like 95% done.
Okay.
And then my life changed. And the story is continuing to evolve and change.
Sure.
So I said, hold on. We're going to have to go back and
see where it goes.
Yeah, rewrite some of that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
When you were establishing Step It Up, what was the impetus for the name of that? Because I love that. Yeah. Step It Up Entrepreneur, Step It Up Academy.
Racked my brain for months on
really?
That. Yeah. Yeah. My strong suit is not titles, names, that kind of shit. I really had to think a long time about it.
I mean, it's a little confrontational. I love it. It's a little confrontational. Like, come on, step up. I say that to my people all the time. Like, let's go. Like, hold yourself to a higher standard. Yeah. Like, that's mediocre bullshit right there. You can do better. I know you can do better. Yeah. You owe it to yourself and your family to do better. Yeah. And you're not like a super confrontation. You're not a dick.
Yeah.
You've worked for one, but you're not one. That's that's kind of an aggressive. I mean, you know me. I fucking love that shit. Mm-hmm. But how did you come about it?
One of my personal core values is I refuse to be average.
Fuck yeah.
This has a lot to do with that. Right,
awesome.
We're stepping it up every single day.
You're kind of talking to yourself.
Yeah, talking to myself, and if this is how I'm going to live, I want to step it up and be the best person that I can be each and every day. Right, and one of the things that I say, if you ever read any of my social media posts, is small steps forward daily.
Yep.
And I truly fucking believe in that.
Yeah.
Right, because every one of us wants to go and have these massive goals that we accomplish, but going back to the small tasks, all a big goal is a series of very small steps and tasks taken each and every day.
How much confidence do you gain as a person, as a man, as a father, every time you keep promises that you make to yourself, like only to yourself in the mirror, you keep it for one of those? How much, like you don't even maybe tell your wife or your best friend about it?
It feels good. Yeah, you definitely boost the confidence. For me, a lot of that has to do not necessarily with tasks and stuff coming to business, but for me, it's more taking care of myself.
Sure.
Where that really is it's been a struggle for me my whole life.
Yeah.
Like I've seesawed my weight up and down my whole life. Dude.
Right.
Right, my heaviest, I was like 315 pounds, just swole up like a tick. Right, just not looking good whatsoever.
Right.
But it's been a battle, and it still is to this very day. It's like body dysmorphia. You look at yourself without your shirt on, and it's like, man, fuck, I know I could do better.
Sure.
Right, it's just being real.
Yeah, but then, it is rewarding to a degree when you start to see changes, or when, maybe you don't see that many changes, but you're like, I'm pushing way more weight around. Yeah. I know for goddamn sure if there was a fire, I could carry everyone in my family down the stairs and out the front door if need be. Yep. The guy I had on last week helps disabled athletes, veterans, etc., with training and fitness and adaptive moving, and he's like, what you look like doesn't matter. Like if a bomb went off, could I carry you down these stairs? Like I could carry you, you could carry me. We're both big motherfuckers. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I may not be winning best abs, but I will knock your ass the fuck out. Like bring it right down the channel. I will shoulder charge you into fucking the next universe. Mm-hmm. The personal discipline side of things though doesn't take away from, hey, life is meant to be enjoyed. Yeah. I think a lot of us, we think like, I'm going to start my business. That way I can control my time. Mm-hmm. I'm going to control my income. My life is going to be better. And then we get bogged down by all the little things that an integrator like you can help us. Like take that weight off your shoulders, start enjoying building business again, doing business again. the enjoyment life thing. What do you do in your life that's enjoyable, like hobbies, pastimes, things like that?
I'll get to that in a second, but I want to hit a point that you just covered here. It's one of the reasons that you got to take care of yourself, right? Because when I wasn't taking care of myself and I was 300 pounds or 280 pounds, 90 pounds, right? You have this self-doubt that's in your head. You're like, man, fuck, I just got invited to go do X, Y, and Z. It's physical. What if I get hurt? I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with those guys, doing X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
Right? That's like a self-limiting belief, and it may not even be a self-limiting belief. It may be the fucking reality.
Yeah.
Right? So that's one of the reasons that I want to make sure that I go in and take care of myself. And my personality, I know for a fact, if I don't take care of me first thing in the morning, it ain't fucking happening.
Sure.
Just not happening.
Really?
Don't ask me to go to the gym at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
No, not happening. So that's why the morning routine is so imperative for me, right? But it's small things. When you start taking care of yourself, you lose a little bit of weight, you start to build some strength back and whatnot. The smaller things is like, oh shit, I just walked a mile and I don't feel winded.
Sure.
I just hopped out of my truck and it wasn't, my knees don't hurt.
Yeah.
Small stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it starts getting into the bigger stuff too. It's like, oh, cool, we got invited on a hunting trip. Let's fucking go kill some deer.
Hell yeah.
Let's roll, man. And now that could be I don't know how much you've done any hunting or whatnot, but I mean, it could be seriously
very
fucking physical.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You try carrying some quartered hogs out of some underbrush. That's a bitch, man. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
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 The self-limiting beliefs, but maybe you're the one who's limiting yourself just because you don't want to put it this way. When you first started working out and you were like, God, I don't want to be here. Has that changed quite a bit? Now you start to build a little momentum. There's got to be days where you're like, this is badass, and I feel like I could run the world right off the field.
We always have those days, but it's funny, we were walking up the stairs coming in here before, and I was like,
this morning sucked. I asked you.
It sucked.
Did you hit it this morning? You said, yeah, brother, it sucked.
I didn't want to be there.
What'd you ask your trainer?
Sore. I was like, man, I fucking pay you for this shit. He's a good friend of mine.
It's funny, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude. But it's like I don't want to go there every morning, right? And the way that it works, his gym is not your traditional like meathead bodybuilder gym.
Yeah,
it's not your traditional CrossFit gym. It's a mix of both, and he calls it functional fitness. And he similar to what your dude was saying. He's like, I don't really give a fuck what you look like. I want to make sure that you're strong, that you move well, and that if you do get into a situation or if life throws something at you and you want to go have fun, you don't have to think about it. You just go and do it. And he's definitely succeeded with getting me there. So a lot of him is Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, we're lifting. We're throwing some fucking weight around. A lot of compound movements.
Sure.
Tuesdays and Thursdays are the asshole days, I call them.
Yeah.
And that's more of the traditional CrossFit where you're going out there and doing a lot more cardio.
Well, I'm glad I scheduled this with you on a Thursday then, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, fooling your body is big. That's big. What is Seneca, the Stoic? He says something along the lines of we train our bodies. We put our bodies through a lot so that our bodies won't disobey our minds. Mm-hmm. You think about like what old athletes say. They're like, man, my mind could still, it could still catch that pass, but my body just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And we only get one body. I saw somebody put something on social. Like if you got one car, you know cars really well.
Yeah.
If you got one car your whole life, would you put the cheapest oil in it? The cheapest fuel? Would you wait till the last possible mile to rotate the tires? Fuck no, you wouldn't. So what are you putting in yourself? What are you putting yourself through? How good is your sleep? If you're an entrepreneur and you're a high level one, you're a fucking athlete, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's taking everything up here, but this is running the machine, and it's so important taking care of yourself.
Yeah, I've got 2 local wellness doctors that I work with.
Sweet.
That just check me out, dial me in. Because listen, health insurance is a fucmery.
You ain't lying.
Know that. But they're not. They're very reactive.
The government owes that to you, bro.
They sure do. So I'm at a point where I've been somewhat successful as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, and I pay out of my own pocket to go work with wellness doctors so they give me a more proactive approach. Like, hey, check me out. There's history of bullshit in my family.
Sure.
I want to know well before that comes in as a red flag.
Have you delved any into food insensitivities? Yeah, cool. That's cool shit, right?
Sure have.
We had a guy on here, top flight trainer, man. This dude played cornerback in college football. His food insensitivity test came back and told him, like, you need to eat way more bison. So he started doing that and got, like, his body fat I mean, he was already in great shape, and no more eggs, man.
Yeah, wow.
What the fuck? Like eggs, I hate eggs. So I'm about to do mine, and I'm hoping to God it says no eggs because I hate them.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? We're all different. The same diet that works for you isn't gonna work for me. Just like running our business is exactly the same. Doesn't make any sense either. It kind of depends on how everybody's wired, which is what you can help people with the most. If they want to reach out to you and they really want to get super clear and granular with you about what an integrator can do, what you can do to take them to the next level, or if they just want to talk and connect and see if they are a good fit for you now, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Best way is hit me up on one of two websites, either thomaskeenan.com or stepitupacademy.com. Those are the best spots. You can find me in all the socials, Instagrams. Just type in Tomas Keenan. I'm the only Thomas with no H. My name's actually Tomas. It's real easy to find me. I show up in all the Googles at the top because of that. It's a good hack.
That's a true story.
Yeah, I was so angry at my parents for giving me that name as a kid because, everyone spelled it wrong.
Oh,
and now as an adult, as a marketer, it's like, oh, that was a blessing in disguise.
You could also just Google "unfuck your business" and you would come up immediately. It's probably one of the best business book names on the planet. Brother, I appreciate your time.
Man.
Thank you so much. Awesome once again. That was awesome. Thomas is he's a great visit. Every time we sit down, I was just on his podcast a couple of days ago, so check that out on all of his channels. You can find his social. Remember, Tomas, Tomas, no TH. You find him anywhere if you Google him. Also, Google his book, Unfuck Your Business. If you want to connect with Tomas, which I highly recommend, getting an integrator in your business. If you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're a visionary and you're awesome at that front end stuff, that back end stuff, where you actually deliver the deliverables, can really start to become a chore. And a guy like Tomas, take that off your hands or point you in the right direction. He can also get you started if you want to write your own book. I highly recommend him. He's a man of integrity. I've known him for several years. I look up to him for his knowledge, and I greatly appreciate his time. Look, I love doing the JMP. I love visiting with people like Tomas who are fearless, who live a DIY type lifestyle. Do it your fucking self. DIFY, if you want to be more technical about it. I'd love to know what you all think. So if you want to drop a comment below, or you can hit me on Instagram or TikTok anytime at Jess from the Northwest. Even better yet, if you know somebody that you think I should have a sit down with, please connect me. I would love to talk to them. I'm always looking to connect with rad people who live their life a certain way. Hope to see you guys next time. Have a good one.